Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and I am a flower farmer in East Yorkshire in the UK, and if you've been following me for a while then you know that I am passionate about regenerative farming techniques on my flower farm. So I've been trying out lots of new things this year, trying to get the techniques right and sharing those lessons with you guys too. So one of the things that I have been trying to do this year is to make good compost and to use that compost to make compost tea. I still haven't got the composting quite right, but I think I'm nearly there. And also with the compost teas, I've had 2 attempts at making good compost tea and actually analysing it under the microscope. This isn't just chucking stuff in a bucket and brewing it for 24 hours and saying that it's compost tea. I'm actually analysing this under the microscope to try and get the beneficial organisms that I want in my flower beds that are going to produce really healthy plants and soils for me. So I've tried this twice and there's something that goes wrong. Either I'm overfeeding the compost tea. The first time I added humic acid, fish emulsion and seaweed extract. The second time all I did was add humic acid to dechlorinate the water and it still went anaerobic, or there was some signs of anaerobic organisms. What I was trying to do is to encourage protozoans to be in my compost tea, which are kind of the level of organisms above bacteria. So the protozoans feed on bacteria, they excrete, they poop and provides plant food and food for higher organisms. So in the last 2 brews I haven't been able to culture protozoans, so I'm having another go again, and this time I'm not even going to put humic acid in because I'm concerned that that's providing kind of a food material and the bacteria are just having a bit of a bloom inside the bucket, using up all of the oxygen and kind of causing it to go anaerobic, even though I've got an air pump running in the bucket. The other issue could be that the air pump isn't powerful enough and isn't adding enough oxygen into the bucket. So we will see on this brew what happens. All of this has been kind of guided along by Eddie from Rhizophilia, who's been a great mentor over the last couple of weeks. I've been explaining my process to him and he's been pointing me in the right direction as to why I might have got it wrong. On Eddie's recommendation, I've bought an air stone instead of using a pipe with holes cut in it, so hopefully that's going to help to put more oxygen into the water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some soil from an area that I put some cow muck on last year and then I covered it over with a tarpaulin. I looked under the tarpaulin the other day and the stuff looks great. It's like pure worm castings. It's really, really nice looking stuff. Looks great under the microscope. There's lots of fungi, protozoans, amoebas and things. I'll show you that under the microscope later on. And then I'm going to mix that with some soil from another bed which is quite bacterially dominated. So the protozoans have got the bacteria to feed on, and then I'm going to mix those into a bucket and brew it up and see what happens. So I'm taking you along the journey with me. I've made a couple of these videos already, but when it goes wrong I've just decided not to publish the video, but I'm going to publish it anyway whether it goes wrong or not, just so that you can experience the learning curve that I am about to experience. I've had this bubbling for 24 hours, so the chlorine should have gassed off by now, and then what I'm going to go and do now is grab some soil from the fields, strain it through a mesh bag and just let it brew for another sort of 24, maybe 48 hours. I'm just going to keep an eye on it with the microscope and see what's happening inside the brew. I'm just taking my brew bag and I'm putting it into the bucket and I'm just going to agitate it with my hand for 5 minutes or so, just to try and dislodge some of those organisms off of the organic matter that's in the bag and encourage them to move their way into the water inside the bucket. While the compost tea gets brewing, let's have a look under the microscope and see what we're potentially going to be brewing up. The organism that we're looking at in the centre of the screen is a testate amoeba. These make their shells out of silica or calcium carbonate and they feed on bacteria. That is a good sign in our soil sample. Here we are seeing lots of different shapes and types of bacteria, which is a good sign. It's good to have maximum diversity within our compost teas. As we scroll through here, we are seeing fungal spores and fungal hyphae, which should hopefully make their way into the soil and boost up that fungal to bacterial ratio in the soils. The thing that's going crazy in this shot here is a flagellate, and that's another protozoan, which is a good sign. So my compost tea has been brewing for about 48 hours now. It is just buzzing away in the background there, and I've just put a slide on the microscope just to see what's going on in the tea. I'm not sure whether I've kind of already gone past the peak of it, because I am noticing that the bacterial population seems to have gone down from kind of a medium density to kind of medium to low. There's still quite a good diversity of bacteria in there, which is a good thing. I've not really seen any protozoans. I've seen one or two flagellates and one or two naked amoebas, and maybe one testate amoeba, which obviously wasn't the goal of the brew. The brew goal was to get those protozoans going. However, I did read a paper by Elaine Ingham last night which said that you won't really get any protozoan multiplication. They divide by binary fission, as far as I am aware. They split into two from one individual. You won't really get any division until about 3 days brewing. So because I'm not seeing that many protozoans here at the moment anyway, then there isn't many protozoans to breed from. So I'm not sure whether I'm going to really get much of a protozoan brew going. So what I'm going to do is probably going to use a tank full of the brew. I think there's about 20 litres in there, and I've got a 15 litre spray tank. So I'm going to probably fill my spray tank, spray it on a few of my cover crops, and then leave a little bit to brew, just to see whether giving it another day would increase the protozoan numbers. Maybe next time I can let it brew for a bit longer, try a tiny amount of food in and see how that goes. We'll just have to see. It's all a matter of experimentation. But I can't remember whether I mentioned this earlier, but it's just crazy how many people online are just like, yeah, just fill a bucket with this and this and this, and then put a scoop of a food in for the microbes, and then without actually being able to monitor the microbes, you just don't know what you are creating inside the bucket. So it's been really handy to look down the microscope and see what's in the brew and know what I'm putting down on my plants. This should be a really great addition anyway to the soils, because it's got fungal spores in there, which hopefully will germinate and create more fungal life within the soils, which is what I'm desperately missing in my soils. So hopefully that's going to make a difference, and we can obviously continue to monitor that on the microscope as well. So the purpose of a compost tea really is to coat the leaves and the soil surface in the beneficial bacteria and microbes that you've cultured within your compost tea. So you've got to start with a really healthy compost to begin with, otherwise there really isn't any point in doing it, because if you don't have those organisms originally in your compost, then you're not going to be able to brew them up, because they're just not going to be there. Pathogenic organisms can usually be out-competed by beneficial organisms, so if we can brew those in the compost tea, then it will stop infections and diseases that are targeting your plants by out-competing them on the leaf surface or in the soil. So that's really what the goal of the compost tea is. And believe it or not, 20 litres or 25 litres will do 2 acres of application. It's really kind of hard to believe that you have to spray it on so thinly, but when you consider the fact that the microscope slides that I've been showing you are literally 1 drop of liquid from the whole brew process, and that had thousands and thousands of bacteria in, and it had multiple protozoans, fungal spores and things like that. So you can see how a little goes a long way, and that's one of the things with kind of regenerative farming and things that I've been hearing a lot about, is that we kind of just want to put in the minimum inputs, don't overdo it, and just watch and see what the results are, and then you can maybe add more if you need to in the future. So I'm just going to continue applying my compost tea, and then hopefully we'll see some improvements under the microscope over time. So here is what I'm seeing under the microscope 3 days after brewing the compost tea. It's still looking like it's aerobic. I'm not seeing any anaerobic organisms, and I think I'm seeing a good diversity of bacteria, perhaps some protozoan cysts, which maybe means they've gone dormant. I'm not quite sure, I'm still new to all of this, but it's still looking okay, so I'm going to spread this on the soil. While I am on the microscope, I just want to give a big shout out to Neil and his team at GT Vision for kitting me out with this microscope and making sure that I have the specifications that I need for the job that I want it to do. Neil's been just so helpful and been in constant communication with me, despite being really busy himself, just to make sure that I've got the right machine and that it's working properly, and I'm just so happy with it. So if you are in the market for a new microscope, then definitely get in touch with GT Vision. They have everything that you will need to be able to take a view into the soils. I hope you found this video interesting and informative. I would love to know what you think, and I'm looking forward to sharing more insights with you down the microscope as I continue on my soil health journey, and I'm learning lots every single day. I know I haven't really covered in this video how I've built the compost tea brewer, but I'm definitely going to cover that in a future video. And if anybody would like to know the details for the products that I purchased for the compost tea brewer, then I can provide you with those if you write me a comment or send me an email. So I just want to give a shout out again to everybody who bought me a coffee over the last few months, because as you may already know, I was putting my buy me a coffee donations into my microscope fund. So you guys have helped me to purchase this microscope, and I'm really grateful for that. So just want to say thank you again, and thank you for watching this video, and hopefully I will see you again on the next one.